You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
It could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune in to The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQE.
Hey, sports fans, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Sad day in Major League Baseball's pitchers and catchers report to the second half of MLB. Legendary all-star catcher and longtime voice of the World Series, Tim McCarver, has died at the age of 81. McCarver played 21 Major League Baseball seasons for the Cardinals, Phillies, Expos, and Red Sox. He was a member of the Cardinals World Series teams in 64 and 67 and made the All-Star game in 66 and 67. His 1,909 career regular season games, McCarver batted .271 with 97 home runs and 645 RBIs. His career WAR was 28.3. He became one of the most recognized voices in baseball as a broadcaster, serving as a color commentator for the Phillies, Mets, Yankees, Giants, and Cardinals, and calling 24 World Series games for ABC, CBS, and Fox. With the impending bankruptcy of Diamond Sports Group, the company that owns Bally's, 19 regional sports networks will not affect fans' ability to watch their favorite teams play. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said Wednesday, adding that the league would pick up streaming in a worst-case scenario. Diamond Sports Group, a subsidiary of Sinclair, announced Wednesday that it would skip February's $140 million interest-only payment and thus enter into the 30-day grace period that will probably lead to a bankruptcy filing, an expected yet monumental development throughout the professional sports landscape. MLB, with 14 teams that pull in a substantial revenue through regional sports contracts with Diamond Sports Group, could be severely impacted. Manfred, speaking on the onset of spring training, hopes teams will continue to be paid their rights and fees while the process plays out. Quote, in the event that MLB stepped in, what we would do is we would produce the games. We would make the asset, the MLB network, to do that. We would go directly to distributors, meaning Comcast, Charter, the big distributors, and make an agreement to have those games distributed on cable networks. My expectations is that as a part of the negotiations, there would be a negotiation over price. And that would probably get back to the question about what the economics would look like. But we would also be seeking flexibility on the digital side. Top 25 action in college basketball tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 3 Purdue at Maryland. While on the deuce at 7, it's number 2 Houston at SMU. 7 o'clock, 25th ranked FAU travels to Murfreesboro to take on Middle Tennessee. Owls are 14-1 in Conference USA, while Middle is at 8-7. And at 10 o'clock on the Pac-12 network, Utah is at number 8 Arizona. Should be a good one. Utah 10-5 in the Pac-12, Arizona 11-4. 10 o'clock Eastern, number 17 St. Mary's travels to San Diego. And on the deuce at 11, it's Stanford at number 4 UCLA. While CBS Sports Network will have Gonzaga, 13th ranked, and 10-2 in the WCC at Loyola Marymount. And though a light night in the NBA, there's a doubleheader on TNT in the association. Bucks are at Bulls at 7:30, and Clippers are at Suns. Out of market action, the Wizards are at the Timberwolves. And that'll put a lid on the NBA action as they head into the All-Star weekend. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Almond Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? I'm trying to save the pub call. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. This is a solemn one. The great Tim McCarver has passed at the age of 81. Salute to one of the greats.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Yeah, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Got some bad news right before we came on today. The great Tim McCarver, age 81, he has passed away. And what a great broadcaster he was, as he was obviously known to a lot of us, came into our living rooms for several decades, did 24 World Series games, and I always enjoyed his broadcasts. I know broadcasters, when it's all said and done, can be polarizing. Some folks either love someone or hate someone, but I always enjoyed Tim McCarver. Didn't agree with everything that he had to say all the time, and didn't like the way that he came after Deion in the early 90s when Deion was with the Braves. But all in all, Tim McCarver, one of the greats, and he passes away at the age of 81. We try to move on. This is spring training, and fitting that he would pass on the day that pitchers and catchers are reporting to the other half of the league. You've got the Atlanta Braves, and obviously that's the number one team that we're going to talk about here on this show all year long. The Atlanta Braves report, pitchers and catchers report. Some of them have been showing up a few days before, but they had to be at the facility by today. There's also some news that has broken that Bally Sports. Now, if you listen to the Sports Flash, you know that they have a lot of issues going on when it comes to their broadcast for the 19 teams that they represent in Major League Baseball. Remember, they're the ones that bought out Fox Sports South a few years ago, and now they're filing for bankruptcy. So we'll see how that plays out. Manfred said that they will continue to have the games, which is huge because the Braves are one of the teams on Bally's, right? So one way or the other, you're going to get the Braves broadcast. We just don't know how it's going to play out. Now, the news of the day for the Atlanta Braves is that Brandon Gowden has been announced as the new play-by-play man. He is taking over for, obviously, Chip Carey, who left for St. Louis. And if you think the Bally's had anything to do with it, it did not. St. Louis Cardinals are also under Bally. Now, Brandon Gowden, if you're wanting to know who is he is the voice of Madden. Now, I'm not very familiar with him, to be honest with you, because I don't. When I buy a Madden, if I buy a Madden, and there's a lot of years where I don't buy Madden because I feel like it's the same game over and over again. But when they do a Madden game, I do buy a Madden game, I rarely listen to it because I normally have it muted. I'm usually watching something else for years and years and years and years and years. This goes back at least 25 years plus. All my friends can tell you when I have played video games, even way back before I was married and we had the roommates and we would sometimes get together and do like a Madden Bowl and stuff like that. We always had another game on, and it was usually a live sport. It was a live game in the world of sports. It might have been football season, might have been baseball season, whatever. So to get into Gowden and where he is from and who is he, says here that he is from Evansville, Indiana, and he went to Butler. Now, I don't know if he has grown up, according to this that I'm reading, but it's Wikipedia, and how accurate are these things? But it says that he grew up an Atlanta Braves fan and wrote a letter to Skip Carey asking how to get into broadcasting. Okay. So if that is true, the Braves are getting a Braves fan coming to Braves country. I'm not familiar with him. Only thing that we know about him is that he's been on the Big Ten Network and that he has also done some Fox Sports, some Westwood One, and then, of course, the Madden. But that's how it was billed, is that he's the voice of Madden. So that's what he's most known for. And if you look at what he's done in the past, it looks like that he has done some CBS work. I don't see him affiliated with the team as a play-by-play guy per se recently, but it does say that in 2013 he was hired to be the voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, So he's obviously familiar with the area, did Georgia Tech work, and then was hired on by Westwood One after that and left, and since then has been doing primarily Westwood One. So take that with what you will. I guess we'll see how it goes. You know how fans are. They're either going to love them or hate them. And there's never any in between when it comes to broadcasters. But I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get the news that they didn't just promote within, because I feel like that the Braves radio booth is phenomenal, and that would have been the obvious choice. But you never know what the workings are behind it and what the reasonings were, but that's where we're looking at now. Brandon Gowden. Congratulations to him, first of all. And we'll see how he works out in Braves country. And look, you never know. Some guys, this might be their ultimate dream job, and they never want to leave, and you love them and you embrace them. Some guys with jobs like this, they become stepping stones to get something. Maybe he has aspirations of doing Fox when in the World Series and whatnot. So you never know. I would like to say that I hope that whoever does it with Brandon, I haven't seen a full report. I'm assuming most of the usual suspects will be back, but I'm hoping that they have good chemistry. And I'm also hoping that when they do these games, that we have a little more consistent booth, because that's one of the things that drives me crazy as a fan. Now, I do a lot of the broadcasts for radio, or radio style on YouTube. And we're going to talk about that, the early schedule here today. I've got most of it mapped out. But when I do sit down to watch a broadcast on TV, it drives me crazy when I go in and I go to watch a game, and they do it a lot on the road games where you don't have the A team. And not to knock any other guys, but there's certain guys that you like and certain guys that you don't. And when you don't have the A team, it's a little disappointing when that is what you get on the air. But hopefully we get a good product this year in Braves country, because that is what we're looking for. If not, you can always pair up Braves Country HD on the games that we do. And we are doing this before we ever knew about the Chip Caray thing. We are expanding, going from 2 games a week to 3 to 4 games a week. And we'll go from there. Tim McCarver, once again, if you're just joining us, passed away at the age of 81. Really, really shocking news. I have not seen what the cause is. I don't know if it was just, quote unquote old age. But Tim McCarver, one of the legends in the game. So this really is a broadcaster's day for Major League Baseball. The Braves have reported spring training, pitchers and catchers. And then Tuesday, everyone else will be due. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've also got Doug with us today. We're going to talk about the Cincinnati Reds. They've got a good young pitching rotation, and I thought this would be a great day to talk about this because we kind of brought it up yesterday. And we're going to get into the Cubs rotation. We're going to get into a couple other teams and what to expect. We've got some other things to keep you updated on in the world of football and basketball as well. So we got a busy day here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. You even got the St. Pete Invitational, Clearwater Invitational, softball right now. Quick update on the score. Alabama leads Duke. That's number 12 versus number 19 in women's college softball. And that game is heading to the 7th. We'll keep you updated on that. All right, let's take that quick break reset. Doug is on the way, and we will be talking some baseball, baby. Pitchers and catchers report for the important teams today. We'll be back in a flash.
Bro, Blake, play for the love of the game, man. What's wrong with you, bro? Money should not be a thing. Bro, I'm risking my life. What do you mean it should not be a thing? It 100% should be a thing. And if I get the Rona, on top of that, guess what happens with that? The damage that was done to my body, that's going to be there forever. No, I got to get my money. I'm not playing unless I get mine. More Twitch streams for us, that's facts.
Armchair.
Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
How to improve your dining room by the Home Depot. New wood floors, new paint on the walls. Sure, you know us for that. But how about a new dining room table, matching chairs, bar stools? How about free and flexible delivery with easy online returns? Now you can explore decor in a whole new way. Save now on furniture. Everything for your home. Everything from HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done. Limitations apply.
Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, 99.1 FM The Key, your first choice for Southern sports talk.
You mean to tell me we're going to drive from here to Texarkana, Texas, and back to here in 28 hours?
It's only 900 miles there and 900 miles back.
Well, for your information, that ain't never been done, not no rig.
That's because you and I ain't never done it in no rig. You got to stop thinking so negative, son.
Welcome back, Braves Country. And joining us today is Mr. Doug, Red Raider Doug.
Hey.
How about those Reds? Are you? Because I know you're ready to talk some Reds because it doesn't look like we're going to get an answer about Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders for a hot minute as he's going into his darkness retreat or wherever he's going. I mean, I'm assuming there's jamming him in a utility closet. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, rich people have to really keep themselves occupied, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Some of us get up in the morning, go to work, and then haul butt home and make sure we can squeeze in the show, et cetera, et cetera. And, some people have a lot of time on their hand and got to squeeze themselves into a utility closet, right? They see 4 days Aaron Rodgers going into this dark room, and I guess they shove food to him under the door. I don't know how. I really don't want other details, but I've never understood. Okay, so you can't see anything. Where do you do the obvious things like use the restroom? Do you keep yourself clean any way, shape, or form? That would be my biggest concern is where do I use the restroom and how in the world do I make sure that I'm not walking into something like where I just use the restroom if I'm sitting? Because supposedly it's so dark you can't see anything for 4 days.
Well, my question becomes, when he walks out of that manhole of his, does he make his decision based on whether he sees his shadow or not? Or
that's a good question. I guarantee that ponytail will be a little longer. That's the only thing I know. I guess he does this pretty regularly. I don't know if he does it every year. This is not his first time, so.
All I know is he comes out of that closet and says, "I don't know. I'm gonna flip out." That's all I'm gonna say.
While he is doing this and taking his sweet time, I don't think it really affects the Raiders as much, but who it really affects is what about a team like the Jets who's waiting for him to quit dragging his feet, and Derek Carr is just at the free agency, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you've got a coaching staff in the Jets. They're on the hot seat. They're all on the hot seat.
Yeah.
If they come out this year and they don't, I honestly think for the New York Jets, it's playoffs or bust. They took a small step this year where they became competitive, very competitive,
mm-hmm.
and they just couldn't get good quarterback play. But outside of that, I felt like the rest of the Jets team was pretty solid across the board. So this is a do or die situation for the Jets this year, and they got to wait for Home Skillet to decide when he comes out of this darkness room, whatever he's calling it, the cave. And I swear, I bet you it's just a utility closet or a glorified utility closet, because he pays for this service, right? Which is even funnier. That there's got to be a lot of these dopes with way too much money, spending way too much money to go sit in darkness for 4 days. Why did
only someone with $1 billion in the bank does something like that?
But why didn't we think of this? Like, you see what I'm saying? We're out here humping it like suckers, and there's people out there making bukus of dollars off of jamming in a closet. I remember 15 years ago where that got Mike Leach fired for jamming a kid in the closet for 4 hours. Well, Aaron Rodgers going involuntarily for 4 days. What are we talking about here? All right, whatever.
I know. I got 2 extra bathrooms. Anybody wants to spend $1 million in the bathroom in the dark for a couple days, the electricity, just let me know. Contact me.
I'll give you a discount if you do some cleaning while you're in there. How about that?
Oh, man.
Supposedly no sound and no sight. Like it's straight. I feel like after 4 days, I would just go bananas. I think I would come out and 4 days. I can't go 4 hours in complete total silence and darkness. There's no way 4 days.
You could go here in Florida, the Rainford prison, and they'll do it to you for free.
They'll do other things to you for free.
Yeah, well, that's a problem too, but
I'm good, man. I'm good. Well, the Cincinnati Reds are coming in as a team, a young team. And we were talking about this yesterday. That's why I thought it'd be a good topic today. And we are going to get to the Braves here in a second. By the way, this is the new Braves spring training cap.
Oh.
My wife surprised me with it. It's pretty sharp. It's like a trucker's cap. If you're listening on radio and you can't see the show or whatever, it's like a trucker's type cap, navy blue, just says Braves spring training on it. No, I like the very clean, simple hats. I don't like the ones with a lot, which I really feel like the last several years, most of the styles have gone back to that. There was a time where you didn't know what the new caps were, and that was for all sports. And there was a time where I didn't buy new caps for quite some time because I was like, man, I don't want that splashed all over my hat. But back to the baseball at hand, the Cincinnati Reds, I think they've got a fascinating rotation. Now, obviously, they're not likely to compete for anything this year. But you got to be excited about guys like Nick Lodolo and, of course, Hunter Green this year, right?
Mm-hmm. I've said already, the Reds this season, this is the tryout year. They've got so many rookies, second-year players to work through. I mean, this team doesn't really have a core yet, and that's what this season really is going to be, to find a core, find an identity for this team. And, you mentioned Lodolo and Green, and you have to mention also, you've got to mention Graham Ashcroft as well. Those 3 guys, along with Tyler Stevenson, I think are going to be the core of that team. That's, of course, like everybody else, I'm going to be fascinated how that works. Because I don't think they're going to work as well. Tyler Stevenson at catcher needs to play a full season and not get injured like he did last year. Because behind the plate, I always thought he was partially responsible for some of the early success that Lodolo and Green had. His stability behind the plate is going to be kind of important this year.
Well, I'm really interested in what Lodolo will do. For folks who didn't pay attention to him, he I believe he had 30 more strikeouts than he did innings pitched last year. And of course, we all know Hunter Green. Hunter Green has gone viral several times because he lives above the 100 mile an hour zone. Ashcraft is an interesting one to me because we've talked about him several times last year on how he can be a little inconsistent. But when he's on, he's a guy that can go out there. He's not going to strike out the side, but he's a guy that can go out there and give you 5-6 good. A quality start was what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd always said about the thing about Ashcraft is he, as far as his pitching and how he's pitched so far, he's like a ground ball specialist is what I call him. I mean, in pitching in Cincinnati, that's not a bad thing. If you were anywhere else, I think you'd have a lot more problems. If he can learn better control and work on he's got several different pitches, but I'd like to see him work on that slider. He's got a really, really interesting slider, and if he could get that under control, I think he'd be as great as sometimes you saw him. Even if he doesn't play that well, I could see him being in a bullpen spot. I could see him being a bullpen specialist, as I like to call them. But I could see him, if they had to, coming off the bullpen and getting maybe a couple of saves or holds. So either way, I mean, we'll find out this season as far as Ashcroft is. If he can learn to control that slider, I think that would make him more of an optimal third spot starter.
And so as we pivot over towards the Atlanta Braves, I think one of the more interesting things, now you can't really go by what they're showing as the depth chart on ESPN that I'm sharing here. I had to go with them. MLB doesn't have anything updated. It's a little ridiculous. But when you look here and you see Max Fried, now he will be the one. I would be shocked if he's not the opening day starter. I do believe Spencer Strider's there too. Now how they decide to put him to start the season's a different argument, because they might be looking to limit his innings. But I feel Strider and Kyle Wright are the 2 and the 3, and Charlie Morton is the 4. And then number 5 right now, ESPN has Mike Soroka penciled in at number 5, but that is really up for debate, because you've got Ian Anderson, you've got Bryce Elder, who to me right now is the leader in the clubhouse. I get what Soroka did in the past, but we haven't seen this man in action in quite some time. He hasn't played a full year since 2019. You think about that. He has not played a full year, and the only thing that he did in 2020 was very sparingly before he tore his Achilles. And then ever since then has not been back. But when you think about that, you have to go into this season with a level head as a Braves fan, knowing, hey, we're probably not going to have him on the first go around. They're probably going to ease him in and then push. Now, I'm not saying he can't be the number 5 guy out the break, but what is their long-term goal with him? Because they're going to be a little gun shy to just go balls to the wall and say, let's go Soroka. They've already seen what it does to the team to possibly go too hard and heavy early in the year and then run out of gas. They want to make sure that these guys are ready for October. Soroka could end up in AAA, AA to start the season off. They could do, they might, I've read some reports where they're talking about possibly taking it easy, revving him up, where he goes to extended spring training, so he doesn't leave right with the team, right? There's a lot of options there. And Bryce Elder, to me, the way he pitched down the stretch, he could easily step in as the number 5 guy.
I was kind of leaning that way with him. I thought Bryce Elder, because I was looking at starting rotations and what they would be for the season. I always kind of assumed that Bryce Elder was going to be the number 5. I don't think Soroka's going to be. Right now I don't trust him. I mean, that's what spring training is for. But I've already assumed that Bryce Elder was going to be your number 5.
And then when you get past that, you're looking at the reliever situation, and Iglesias right now is being penciled in as the closer. I don't see why he would not be the closer, but I do believe that you could see a situation, where they're trying to limit his innings. They don't want to wear him out. They got the man under contract for the next few years, so the last thing you want to do is just wear his arm out. But number 2, in a situation where you might have a very left-handed heavy part of the lineup and the game's on the line, you might see AJ Minter in there closing. But adding Joe Jimenez, to me, was huge. He's a fireballer. For folks who haven't watched him pitch, he can flat out throw. Colin McHugh is back. We all know what he can do. Dylan Lee's been solid. Lucas Luque, coming over from the from the Yankees gives you another great left-handed arm. And then, of course, let's not forget Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson, what will we get out of Nick Anderson remains to be seen. But when Nick Anderson was on that level and going full bore, Nick Anderson was one of the top relievers in the game.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a million other options that they can go into, and we'll definitely get into that as the spring unfolds. But you're probably going to leave Cool Today Park, as they call it, in late March with what I would suspect be an 8-man bullpen. And we've named off 5 guys right there. And you've got a lot of other options, and I don't have enough room to fit them all on the screen. But I'll tell you one thing that's refreshing for the Braves. Even with the loss of Tyler Matzik, they've got 3 or 4 lefties that they could break spring training with in their bullpen. And that's a rarity in today's game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we'll get more into the actual, position battles and everything down the road. But I do want to, for a second, take a look at some of the teams that the Braves are going to be looking at for this year. Steven wasn't able to join us today. It's a long story, but anyways, he'll be back next week. So I'm going to wait to talk about the Marlins next week when he's on here as the big Marlins guy. But I do want to get into the Mets, because I think a lot of folks are curious, what are the Mets looking like, and the Phillies. So let's dive into that real quick. The Mets, as I go ahead and try to share this screen here, the New York Mets. Now everybody knows the headline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Everybody understands. Oh, by the way, does it shock you that Jacob deGrom is already missing time? If y'all missed this little nugget last night, Nate Miller, who covers the Rangers, who is on here on Tuesdays, tagged me into it yesterday that Jacob deGrom, who reported for pitchers and catchers, was told not to participate because he's got soreness in his side. And I'm like, are you kidding me with this? I mean, this guy, and sometimes I wonder, last year you could predict it because you knew he was going to be a free agent, right?
Yep.
But now he's locked up for the next 5 years. I mean, at what point does he toughen up, right? At what point does every little impingement, every little nook and cranny, I mean, if you stopped what you were doing every single morning because you felt something, you'd never go to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, man, as talented as he is, I think I do believe that the Mets dodged a bullet. I think they did. I think they dodged a bullet not re-signing him. So you got Scherzer and you got Verlander. We all know that. I think the biggest question with them is, what do they have in late September into October? Because they're 40 years old, right? They got a lot of balls on those arms. The next big question here is this guy right here, Kodai Senga.
I was just going to say.
What's your thoughts on him? What are you hearing on Senga?
Senga, he has what I understand is he's got this, I believe it's a slider they say it's a lights out slider, but I'm on the fence with him right now. I've heard a lot of, Japanese or Korean baseball players. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a kind of a slow. I think he's going to have great moments, and I think there's going to be moments as why is he on this team? I think he's got a range of inconsistency, so I'm not completely sold on him. He's one of those, it's feast or famine. Either he's brilliant or he's horrible. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay, so the thing with him, he's been pretty dominant. Of course, you never know what's going to happen once you come over to Major League Baseball. What I feel like is going to be the thing with Senga is, and he supposedly what do they call it? The ghost pitch or the ghost. Anyways, evidently he has got a drop pitch. It's essentially a changeup, but it has more of a dip.
Right.
That absolutely disappears. I kind of feel like he's going to be lethal the first go around, right?
That's one. Yeah.
The first go around, I think he's going to be difficult to pick up. The question will be, especially with today's technology and being able to watch him on film, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's more to the point of what's it going to be like when you see him the first time. When you're standing in that batter's box and the first time you see the ghost fork, that's what it is. Ghost fork is what they called it.
That's it. I said slider. Yeah.
Ghost fork. So
that's it.
Supposedly the thing just disappears. When he goes back around, and the thing is, he does have an advantage because this year, because they changed Major League Baseball's schedule, you're not going to see everybody 19 times in your division, right?
Right.
So Atlanta's not going to get this big advantage seeing Senga. Normally, we would see him between 3 to 5 times in a season. This year, it'd probably be more like 2. That's advantage him. But the second time around, when folks see him, that's when I will be more dialed in on an opinion. I want to watch him because anytime you see a guy coming over here to play Major League Baseball from any other country, I'm always intrigued. Because you don't know what you're going to get. Are you going to get a guy like Suzuki, right? Or I guess for pitchers, are you going to get Shohei Ohtani, where he just basically changes the game? Or are you going to get some of these other guys? His name is escaping me, but the Cubs had a Japanese pitcher that came over and he was horrendous. They dialed like 3-4 years into him on free agency, and he never did anything. You have a guy like Hideo Nomo who was very good at the very beginning, and then the rest of his career was really meh. You got the guy they called the Frog that went to the Yankees. He was He was okay, but he wasn't what was built up to be. But supposedly this kid's the real deal. I say kid, I think he's 29. But to me, that's going to be one of the more intriguing things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Phillies. The Phillies rotation to me is fascinating. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. Keep it locked in here on 99.1 FM.
Well, don't mind me. I'm just here to install this smoke detector.
Smoke detector? Does that detect any kind of smoke?
Long live the king.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
ACC football covered like no other here on the Armchair Quarterback.
Against the blitz, touchdown Florida State. Rock Preston scores the touchdown. And now it's Bowden's decision, and he sends Mowry onto the field right away. Danny Cannell is the holder. Mowry ties it. This game is over. A 31-31 tie. A 31-31 tie.
A deep throw by Lawrence. A lot of contact. Justin Ross broke free from it. He's down in the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson.
Justin Ross, a freshman wide receiver, big, rangy. And Trevor Lawrence knows, throw it up against that single coverage, give him a chance to make a play on a 50-50 ball.
If you're a fan of the ACC, pull up an armchair. You're home.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, what's happening, Norm?
It's a dog-eat-dog world, Sammy, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear.
What's shaking, Mr. Peterson?
What is it?
What are you up to, Norm?
My ideal weight if I were 11 feet tall.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m., drive time on WQEE. Welcome back, Braves Country. We are here weekdays. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays here on the Key and on Braves Country HD, wherever you may stream. If you missed the news earlier, Hall of Fame broadcast legend and I think he's most known as a St. Louis Cardinal, Tim McCarver passes away at the age of 81. And our condolences to his family and, of course, Cardinal Nation. He was a Philly as well. And we are talking spring training, trying to take a look at some of these rotations. And one of the ones that we want to go into now is the Philadelphia Phillies, because for my money, I am more concerned with beating out the Phillies this year than I am the Mets. I don't believe that the Mets got any better. I don't think they got any worse. I think they're there. They're where they were last year. And they played much better in the beginning of the season than they did the tail end of the season. Now, we just kind of went over what the Mets rotation is going to look like. I think it's going to be solid up front. I'm a little concerned, if I'm a Mets fan, about the back end of the rotation. But I think you could say that about most teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're taking a look here at the Philadelphia Phillies. I think the first thing that jumps off the screen, if you're a Phillies fan or if you're a Braves fan thinking about the Phillies, is the fact that, well, they kind of went cherry picking and went ahead and grabbed Taijuan Walker out of the Mets organization.
Right.
And then, of course, they've got Aaron Nola back. They've got Zach Wheeler back. Ranger Suarez, Bailey Falter. I think that's the biggest wild card for the Phillies as far as how far can they go, because Bailey Falter is very highly thought of, but he's still really raw, right?
Mm-hmm. He's like Bailey Falter. What's interesting thing about him is he's kind of like a little bit better than we talked about Ashcraft. He pitched like a little bit better than Ashcraft, and that's what you're getting with him. If you want to put their numbers together, that's kind of what they got going with him.
And, of course, all of these guys that we're referring to got a lot of very, very important experience last year into October. And now the expectations are going to be through the roof. Because if you're a Philadelphia fan and you just watch the Eagles get within a baby's breath of the Super Bowl ring, and you know how close you were with this baseball team, it's going to be a lot of pressure. How do they respond to that? And do they improve? What did they have, 87, 88 wins, something like that last year? So they got hot in the playoffs, but do they improve? Because if things would have broken another direction for Philadelphia, they barely made the playoffs. So they've got a lot of work to do as far as being a little more consistent in the regular season. But Aaron Nola, I think he's one of the more underrated pitchers in all of baseball. Zach Wheeler is a beast. I don't know how you could have Aaron Nola as the one, Wheeler as the two. Wheeler's got the number one stuff.
Yeah, I always thought Wheeler should be number one.
And then there is a lot of question marks after that. Taijuan Walker, what are you really going to get from him? He always seems to have a very good beginning of the season and then peters off at the end. Ranger Suarez was extremely inconsistent last year. And then you go to the bullpen.
Yep.
And they've got a couple of really good arms there, but they also have a lot of big question marks. What do you say about the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen?
Bullpen, oh boy. Between, I kind of throw my hands up a little bit. I mean, you got Christopher Sanchez. He's not too bad, but he's only got 40. He only pitched 40 innings last year. Bailey Falter, who we already talked about as a potential starter.
So ESPN has Craig Kimbrell slotted in as the closer. I don't know if that's true. But the thing is, if you pay, they signed him to a 1-year, $10 million deal, right?
Yeah.
And Kimbrell has never done well outside the closing position. But he pitched so poorly last year. Not only did they lose the closing job in Los Angeles, the Dodgers didn't even put him on the postseason rotation, on the postseason roster. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a jump for me. I know that they have really, really struggled. That is one thing that I'll say about the Mets. Their pitching is much more together than what the Phillies are. The reason why I think the Phillies are a little more dangerous because that offense is just going to absolutely crush the ball again. But I don't know how you don't have Dominguez as the closer. To me, Alvarado is the setup man. But I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Kimbrell the closer, have Dominguez and Alvarado there so you get this really deep bullpen. But it'll be interesting to me to see if Craig Kimbrell, first of all, if he's even the closer on opening day, but second of all, is he the closer come October? Is he the closer come Memorial Day? Because he is, and when these relievers lose it, they lose it. They lose it fast. There's usually no turning around, right?
Yeah.
I know he's a popular guy in Braves country, and we all loved Kimbrell's time here, but he's not the same pitcher he was many moons ago.
No, not even close.
But all in all, I don't think they have – I think their bullpen's much better than what it was last year at this time, but that's not saying a whole lot. That bullpen was horrendous. Alvarado and Dominguez took very big steps, but the rest of it, I mean, we're talking about Connor Brogdon, Matt Strahm, Bilotti, Nelson, Marte, Gregory Soto. These are a lot of guys that, if they play to their ceiling, they could have a pretty solid bullpen in Philly. But I'm also thinking the other way. If they don't play to their ceiling, if they play just where you expect them to be, this is a bullpen's going to give up a lot of runs again.
Well, what's so weird with this team overall, too, is that I got this team pegged as one of the teams where these rule changes are going to affect how this team plays, just simply because of who's in who their starting batter, their starting lineup is, between Trey Turner and between, oh God, his name just slipped out of my head. Kyle
Schwarber,
between Schwarber being a left-handed power hitter, between Trey Turner and some of the others. I'm just wondering if they can maybe get away with it as far as blowing some games, because that offense, I think, is going to put a lot of runs all season long. You're going to see a lot above average batting averages with this team.
I'll tell you something else that I think is huge for Philadelphia is I don't think it's possible for them to get as bad of a year as they got out of Nick Castellanos, right?
Sure.
He had a terrible season. Now he had a pretty good postseason. He made some plays out there in that right field that I didn't think he was capable of making defensively. But I'm talking about from an offensive standpoint. If Nick Castellanos is the Nick Castellanos that he was in Cincy, and you get Kyle Schwarber to be Kyle Schwarber, what was he, 46 home runs last year? And then Trey Turner is just an absolute specimen to behold. Alec Boehm is starting to mature. This offense is going to be one of the best in baseball.
Yeah.
But can a team with the philosophy of basically we're going to outscore you, can they do it again? Can they get that magic? Or I just feel like there's more likelihood of there being some regression, and the lack of pitching is going to be an issue. But they still scare me more than the Mets do when it comes to winning the division as a Braves guy. I look at it and I'm like, man, this is an offense. They've got 4 guys on that roster in their batting order that could literally carry that team for 2 weeks at a time.
Yep.
When you look at Real Muto, Hoskins, Turner, Schwarber, and then if Castellanos, we're talking 5. And Alec Boehm is a no slouch, and I really think that Bryson Stott's a little underrated.
Yep.
It's going to be a very, very fun baseball season.
Yes, it is.
The strategies going into, we get a chance to talk a little bit of fantasy baseball here. Everyone's drafts will be coming up. The strategies going into this season, when you look at a lot of different factors, you've got the enlarged bases. They got rid of the shift. Scoring should be up, right? The pitch clock. Scoring should really be up in the beginning of the season because I think that is going to take the pitchers time. I don't think it's the batters that are going to have the hard time. It's going to be the pitchers that are going to have the hard time adjusting.
Yeah, that's why I one of the things that came up when I was thinking about this today, one of the things look for in the season is if the whip numbers go up. Back in, I think it was about 2000, it was like at an all-time high, and it was like at 1.47. I'm wondering if we're going to see pitchers with whip scores of 1.4 again. If we see something close to what we saw in 2000 because of these rule changes. I think this year too, and the one thing, and that's why I was thinking with the Phillies is you're going to see players who didn't hit well last season. I think you're going to see their numbers jump, like their batting averages. I think batting averages are going to be 10 points, maybe even up to 15, 20 points higher than they were last year. Like a player who hit 280, I think could potentially hit 300 this year, just to give it an average number.
Do you have any any of the guys that you might be keeping in your dynasty league? Do you have any in mind that you're like, you know what? I don't know if I would have kept him last year, but I'm definitely keeping him this year.
Well, right off the head, because I've sung his praises and I really believe in him. I would have, probably dumped Kyle Schwarber. Now he's a keeper. He's somebody I'm going to keep just because of that left-handed pitching. A guy, even though he played hurt and he is a red, I'm going to keep Tyler Stevenson now, even if I just have to keep him on my bench, because I think his numbers will be elevated. I mean, he slashed 313 last year before he got hurt just in 50 games. And with these rule changes and stuff, as much of a consistent hitter as he was before he got injured, if he recovers and plays a full season, I could see him batting 330, 340, even on a bad team as he's on.
I've got Tatis still on my roster, and I'm still up in the air on whether or not I want to, if I want to keep him, if I want to trade him, if I just want to abandon ship. I'd be kind of stupid to drop him. But man, he's just a succubus on the freaking roster because you can't even put him in the IR slot.
Yeah, I know. He just sits there for what? You got 60 more days on him.
Yeah, I think it's so. Would you say 60?
I think it's 60, I thought. That's what I heard. I could be wrong.
I think when I remember seeing it, I was like, it's going to be after Memorial Day before Tatis comes back. And then and then how long is it going to take for him to let's go? Now the dynasty league is you're looking at it long term, right? and you're looking at it, even if he has a down year this year, he could be really electric next year.
Yeah.
So but I'm in the middle of doing these long, slow best ball drafts.
Yeah.
I think we're going to put one together with the guys, just like we did with fantasy football. I've had some people asking about that. So if you're interested, let me know. But what I learned about that is you got to do it sooner than later, because if you wait too long, then all of a sudden they just shorten the window and they go, oh, by the way, you signed up for 8 hours, but you only have an hour to pick. And that puts everyone into a situation, especially if you're working in the morning or whatever, and the clock just tick, 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 tick. I got to work this morning and got home and realized that I was on the clock. I had like 58 minutes to pick, and previously when I looked at it, there was like 10 hours. But then someone went bam, bam, bam and picked, and next thing you know, I'm just going tick, 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 tick. My biggest thing with these guys that you have to look at is, I think you're going to get less value out of a lot of your pitchers, and to me, that's one of the biggest things
in head-to-head play. Now, if you're playing in like a roto league or a 5-category league, yes, you've got to worry about that. If you play fantasy sports in those, you've got a lot of hard choices to make this year as far as picking your fantasy teams. Head-to-head teams, yeah, there's going to be regression, but I don't think it's going to hurt as much.
We are up on time, Doug. What is your walk-off for the day?
My walk-off is going to be with fantasy sports this year. You're going to have to learn to choose the player and who the player is, not just his position, not just the way he is. You've got to learn to know who the person is, because with these new time clocks, you're going to find out if they can adapt or not, and who you pick in fantasy.
All right, brother. We'll talk more about it next Thursday when you join us. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Joey's going to join us. We're going to talk about the Cubs rotation and a lot more. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD. Pitchers and catchers report, baby. Let's go. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Sad day in Major League Baseball's pitchers and catchers report to the second half of MLB. Legendary all-star catcher and longtime voice of the World Series, Tim McCarver, has died at the age of 81. McCarver played 21 Major League Baseball seasons for the Cardinals, Phillies, Expos, and Red Sox. He was a member of the Cardinals World Series teams in 64 and 67 and made the All-Star game in 66 and 67. His 1,909 career regular season games, McCarver batted .271 with 97 home runs and 645 RBIs. His career WAR was 28.3. He became one of the most recognized voices in baseball as a broadcaster, serving as a color commentator for the Phillies, Mets, Yankees, Giants, and Cardinals, and calling 24 World Series games for ABC, CBS, and Fox. With the impending bankruptcy of Diamond Sports Group, the company that owns Bally's, 19 regional sports networks will not affect fans' ability to watch their favorite teams play. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said Wednesday, adding that the league would pick up streaming in a worst-case scenario. Diamond Sports Group, a subsidiary of Sinclair, announced Wednesday that it would skip February's $140 million interest-only payment and thus enter into the 30-day grace period that will probably lead to a bankruptcy filing, an expected yet monumental development throughout the professional sports landscape. MLB, with 14 teams that pull in a substantial revenue through regional sports contracts with Diamond Sports Group, could be severely impacted. Manfred, speaking on the onset of spring training, hopes teams will continue to be paid their rights and fees while the process plays out. Quote, in the event that MLB stepped in, what we would do is we would produce the games. We would make the asset, the MLB network, to do that. We would go directly to distributors, meaning Comcast, Charter, the big distributors, and make an agreement to have those games distributed on cable networks. My expectations is that as a part of the negotiations, there would be a negotiation over price. And that would probably get back to the question about what the economics would look like. But we would also be seeking flexibility on the digital side. Top 25 action in college basketball tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 3, Purdue at Maryland. While on the deuce at 7, it's number 2, Houston at SMU. 7 o'clock, 25th ranked FAU travels to Murfreesboro to take on Middle Tennessee. Owls are 14-1 in Conference USA, while Middle is at 8-7. And at 10 o'clock on the Pac-12 network, Utah is at number 8, Arizona. Should be a good one. Utah 10-5 in the Pac-12, Arizona 11-4. 10 o'clock Eastern, number 17, St. Mary's travels to San Diego. And on the deuce at 11, it's Stanford at number 4, UCLA. While CBS Sports Network will have Gonzaga, 13th ranked, and 10-2 in the WCC at Loyola Marymount. And though a light night in the NBA, there's a doubleheader on TNT in the association. Bucks are at Bulls at 7:30, and Clippers are at Suns. Out of market action, the Wizards are at the Timberwolves. And that'll put a lid on the NBA action as they head into the All-Star weekend. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Hockey season, and that means new merch over at ourdragonsmerch.com. Get the latest designs and some of our fun new souvenirs ahead of what's sure to be a great hockey season. Celebrate another season of River Dragons hockey by getting a new look to wear on game days, or surprise the big-time sports fan in your life with a new keepsake that will make them a River Dragons fan for life. Order online right now at ourdragonsmerch.com. That's the letter R, dragonsmerch.com. We'll see you at the rink.
Can you keep a secret? Of course I can. I lost all our money today betting on sports. Damn. I know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Can I tell you a secret? Sure, yeah. I lied. I can't keep secrets. Wait, what?
Armchair.
Welcome back. Joey joining us. It must be Thursday. Get off the schneid on the locks, right?
I got off the schneid on with the Super Bowl game, but my Tuesday game didn't hit, so I'm 1-1 in my last two.
It's 0-1.
You know, we started a new year, so I'm 0-1 to start the year. I can only go up. Let's go.
That's right. You had the Illinois game. I remember that now because I looked over and saw the scores. Like, my God, they're getting murdered.
They scored 81 points and they lost by 10.
I was like, they're not just losing. He's taking this losing, not covering to like a new art form. We'll do locks here in a little bit. I'm curious to see where you're going so I can lay money the other way.
Please do. Not to be blamed. That's why I'm here, to give people the opposite.
Let's go ahead and dive into the Chicago Cubs and their rotation. We got a lot of the stuff we're going to get into. We got some football talk we got to get into here in a second, but I do want to go ahead and hit the Cubs rotation. Pitchers and catchers are reporting this week, so we want to make sure that we're hitting all this. And by the way, women's softball is going on right now, the St. Pete Invitational. Florida State is playing Arizona, 2 top-ranked teams. It looks like the game just started. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and I'll get you the other scores of earlier action here in a minute. But let's go ahead and get into the Cubs. And you said that you had some news on Kyle Hendricks. What you got?
Yeah, not good news. So apparently the shoulder injury is lingering. And last time I was on and we talked Cubs, the last time we talked Cubs, I thought he would be in line probably for the regular start of the season. They said this could be at least a month or 2 months, maybe even more into 3 for this injury he has lingering with his shoulder. So we are not going to be seeing Kyle Hendricks as our number 3 or 4 starter to start this year. That's for sure. I'll get to in a second the 5 that it looks like they'll probably be going with
surgery. Is that
it's one of those where they can't decide if surgery is needed or not, and he keeps just waiting it out while it's like it's going to get to a certain point where he might have to have surgery and then miss the whole year. So I kind of think that's what's being debated right now, but he is not going to be with us for the first month or 2.
Jeez. So with that being said, as we're looking at the rotation right here, let me move this down so everyone can actually see what we're talking about. All right, here we go. So right now, as it plays out, it's supposed to be Stroman, Tyon, of course, Justin Steele, and that's the 1, 2, 3 without a doubt. Drew Smiley will be the guy that they're going to try to get some innings out of. So he'll slide up to the 4 spot. Where are you hearing that the Cubs may be looking for that number 5?
It will be between a couple of young guys. Alzolay, who was injured last year, he was actually a decent prospect coming up. And he got injured at the beginning of last year, but he's fully healthy now. Or Keegan Thompson, who was kind of like a middle. He did some spot starts. He pitched out of the bullpen. But we're going to be a couple of young arms right there. No veteran presence left. As Smiley's already up there, obviously. Tyon we signed. But I'm looking at Adbert Alzolay, who was injured last year, is getting back into the rotation. And actually had a pretty good year until he got injured.
There's, by the way, for Braves fans who are just joining us today, there was some news in Braves country. Brandon Gowden has been added to the Braves TV booth, most famously known, I guess, for being the voice of the Madden NFL video game.
Oh, that's where I heard that name.
Take that for what it's worth.
You're not going to be.
I don't know. I don't know if I would recognize his voice. One of the first things I'm going to do when we get off here today is I'm going to go put Madden in and see if I recognize him. So I don't know how many times I actually listen to Madden. It's normally on mute. I'm normally like watching or listening to something else, and I just have no desire to listen to Madden because it's the same cliche, shticky,
exactly.
He's got to fight for more yards, all that kind of junk that they just blurb in there. So yeah, he's coming to Braves country, but evidently he grew up a Braves fan, so that's a cool thing. I'll be interested to see if he's a fit, because Braves fans have been, let's be honest, we've been spoiled with the carries over the last it's been almost 50 years.
Right.
And then, of course, the news today broke about the Bally Sports that may be heading towards bankruptcy, but the league office, Major League Baseball league office, came out and said that they would make sure that all the games would get broadcasted and that they would figure it out as they went along, basically. So that kind of puts a little wrench into everybody planning on how they're going to view their favorite team, because Bally Sports runs 19 teams in Major League Baseball. So, of course, formerly of Fox Sports. So we'll be monitoring that. I think it's going to be one of those things that they're going to try to keep it on the Bally network, I would think, this year. But whether that means that they then give the rights to other platforms to carry it and just charge them accordingly, that would be my guesses on how they would do it. But a thing like this with Brandon Gowden, who was just announced today, Well, it's technically he's going to work for Bally Sports. So I don't think there would be a lot of shuffling, but would there be shuffling next year? Someone else comes in, buys the rights to, we'll just say the Braves individually. Would they come in and shuffle the deck and say, I don't know if this is our guy? And not just him, but it could be a number of folks. So anyways, as far as the Cubs rotation, that if Kyle Hendricks, you're saying 3-4 months it could be.
I mean, that would be the long side of things, but yes, they're at the minimum right now 2 months, right? It's looking like.
That is brutal. That is absolutely brutal.
Because,
Well, no, I was just going to say they needed him. They needed him to be. He didn't have to be lights up, but they needed his innings.
That's exactly what they needed. And his presence as a veteran, obviously, we know he's been with us for a while now, 2014 to be exact. He's a veteran, knows the ballpark, all the ins and outs. He just was a person you could rely on back there to give you some needed innings because, yeah, we have guys like Stroman and Justin Steele, but they're up and down even. Stroman isn't a true one. He's a number 2 starter, in my opinion. Steele has the potential to be a Steele has the potential to be a 2, but right now, to me, he's a 3. Tyon, he'll give you the innings, but he's probably a 3. We don't have a true veteran to lean on that's an ace, and that's going to be a little bit concerning to me, as is the bullpen we'll get to in a little bit.
It's funny with all the rule changes. I've seen 3 or 4 articles come out today that's basically saying, get ready for impending doom. Get ready for impending doom because everybody's going to be on the wrong page. Everyone's going to get mad about the new rules. I really think that they jumped the shark with this because I don't think they needed to do this many rule changes in the same season. I think it gets a little dangerous when you do that because you're changing the game so much. And I would have liked to have seen 1, maybe 2 implemented this year and then go on from there and whatnot. Now they have officially made the extra inning rules permanent. So it's no longer up for a vote. It is now permanent. The only way to change that is for them to bring it up to legislation to reverse it. I don't necessarily dislike the extra inning rules. I know there's a lot of old school folks that hate it, but as long as they don't bring it into the postseason, I'll be fine with it.
Yeah, and listen, there's way too many ball games where if you're a person like myself, once you get past the 7th inning stretch, they stop serving you the fun stuff. So when you're in innings 14, 15, and 16, and you're sitting on a 1-1 ball game because it's 30 degrees out in April, it's not as much fun as you would think.
That's why you got to be up on the rooftops in Chicago, right?
Exactly.
But also, just from a logistics standpoint of it, on a random Tuesday night in the middle of the summer, and the game's going into 16, 17 innings, not only does the viewership drop dramatically because folks have to go to work the next day, or if it's earlier, let's talk about the fact that kids got to be in school.
Correct.
They need to start these games earlier as it is because of that factor. But let's put that part aside. If you're a guy who is a diehard fan, guy or gal who's a diehard fan, and you're going to stay up no matter what, and you're like, whatever, you're nuts. Think about the fact that it absolutely wrecks your bullpen for about a week. And that's one of the biggest issues that I think it fixes. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the legislation on the shift, although I still think there's ways to cheat it. At least they're moving in the right direction. Because you got to evolve. You got to evolve. You can't just keep the same rules from 150 years ago when the teams aren't playing the same game. 150 years ago, there wasn't this dramatic of shifts, right?
No, not at all.
So that's why you had to legislation the ban on the shift. I still think that there's a huge gap in the fact that they're not stopping the left fielder from coming over and cheating and playing shallow right and letting center and right field.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're not stopping that. They're just saying that the infielders have to be in the infield. But what's stopping you from playing basically like a restaurant league softball outfield type thing where you're like, man, we're going to cram the infield. And if we have two really athletic outfielders out there, we'll say like the Braves do with Acuna, who used to be a center fielder, and Michael Harris, who is a center fielder, you could cheat the system and then slide Rosario or whoever's playing left field, put him into shallow right or shallow left. So he's not really stopping anything there.
When there's a will, there's a way. There's going to be some interesting things that teams try during the season where MLB might have to make some, I don't know if you can even make adjustments on the fly, but they're going to run into some intriguing situations where teams get creative, and it will be interesting to see how the league deals with it.
And there is precedence. You can implement certain things, but they've got regulations for, I don't know how aggressive they'll be with it. But I've since they've been talking about this shift, the first thing that popped in my mind was, well, what's going to stop you from cheating from the outfield, right? Because you're going to stop you from cheating from the infield. But baseball has been derived by cheaters, and the ones who learn how to cheat the best usually win the ring. So that's going to be a thing, because unless you're going to draw lines in the outfield and say right has to play right, center has to play center, left has to play left, there's nothing stopping you there. So that would be an interesting thing. But all in all, I think it's going to help. And not every team's going to be able to do that, right? Like the Philadelphia Phillies can't do that because Castellanos can't roam right center.
Exactly.
Kyle Schwarber's going to be a detriment if you put him in shallow right. It would just be an absolute, it would be a carnival. But the other thing, to me, the biggest thing that we're heading towards is that pitch clock.
Yeah.
And I don't know if wait till the first pitcher gets injured and blames the pitch clock for it. Wait till that happens, because it's happening. Someone's going to pull something, twinge something, probably Jacob deGrom. They're going to tweak something. They're going to hit something. They're going to something didn't feel right. And they are going to just let them have it. The guy that I think would be the first to actually blame would probably be Max Scherzer. He just seems like a guy that would blame.
And you're so spot on with that comment. I work in manufacturing. We deal with safety all the time. And the reason most people get hurt these days is because you're going too fast and you're moving too much in a rush. Well, you're speeding these pitchers up now. You're not taking safety into consideration. Right. I know it, and it's gonna make a mess at some point.
That's another thing that I believe is going to escalate is hit batters. When they hit back, because you're saying, hey, let's pitch, and the guy's just going to go, I got to throw. I can't worry about mechanics. They hit batters, and we're going to hit around June or July, and hockey is going to look like a pillow fight.
Fireworks.
Yeah, because you're going to get just full blown benches clearing. I'll say this till my dying day: hockey fights the most. Football has the most impact. But the best fights in all of sports is a baseball fight, because there's no pads, no one's sliding around the ice without any way of keeping their balance. It's just full on. What was the dude's name for the Reds who went diving in the dugout? What was his name? Garrett.
I know who.
What is his name? I think he's with the Royals now, but just goes in there, and he went kamikaze in there to take on half of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yes,
Amir Garrett.
That's it.
We're going to see stuff like that.
Man,
it's just, and it's going to be a nightmare for everybody. Someone's going to get injured because of it. The general managers are going to be put with their backs against the wall, because they're going to be saying, well, dude, I don't have anyone to cover who's going to pitch today because 4 guys got ejected because,
And And you know what's interesting?
Jones beamed someone in the head.
What's interesting with that too is, so they're trying to speed the game up, but if things happen like injuries and fights, all you're doing is making that game longer than in theory too. So it's just a completely full circle moment.
Right. Or even if there's not that going on, you're going to make the game longer because the ball's getting thrown right over the plate, so the offense is exploding, or you're getting walks. Manfred doesn't know what he's doing. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the carousel that is the National Football League and get back into some baseball talk here in a flash. We'll be back here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, 99.1 FM The Key, your first choice for Southern sports talk. The Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family, have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. Little Bites? That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute? I love Little Bites. I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay? Got it. As I was saying, whenever I bring home you-know-what, you-know-who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high-fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious. I love Little Bites. Here you go. Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites muffin, the perfect portion of happiness.
You're not sick tonight, are you? Good. Your tongue's going to be hanging out. Tell him to throw up on his own time.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Drive time on WQEE. Let's go, baby. Pitchers and catchers report. What are you wearing? Something about the Rose Bowl on your shirt?
Yeah, it was the year that Notre Dame made the Rose Bowl. And
man, that's a critique.
Yeah, trying to see the exact year. Don't worry, it's not Jeff Saturday's face.
Notre Dame, and I remember the one they made years and years ago with what was the big fat guy's name? Charlie Weiss. I'm assuming that was one that it's not from that year.
No, it's far more recent. I don't even know why they didn't put the opponent on it.
Are you sure Notre Dame was in the Rose Bowl, or are you sure?
2021. 2021.
Okay, you're sure that's not one of those fake shirts that gets sent overseas?
We unfortunately lost to Alabama 31-14. That was the playoff. The Rose Bowl was that game in 2021. We got smoked by Bama.
Oh, the playoff game. See, I never think of those as being Rose Bowls. Orange
Me
Bowls.
neither, but here we are.
Okay. I was thinking, all right, gotcha. There was a years ago that they played Ohio State in – maybe that wasn't the Rose Bowl. Maybe that was the Fiesta Bowl. But I remember the two of them going at it and it being a big game and getting really excited. And now that I'm talking about it, I really don't remember who won the thing. I just remember it was a big deal because Fat Boy Charlie Weiss was out there coaching. And there you go. All right. Let's get into a little bit of football talk before we dive back into Major League Baseball. Aaron Rodgers is going into this dark retreat as Derek Carr is becoming a free agent. So Doug and I kind of batted this around last hour about how it really puts a team like the Jets under the gun because you're waiting for Rodgers to come out and pull his head out of his rear. But what if during that time period, Derek Carr comes out and signs with we'll just say the Panthers? What do you do there? And then what if Aaron Rodgers comes out of this darkness hole or whatever the heck he's calling it, and he goes, I want to be a Raider, or I've decided I want to stay in Green Bay. So then what do the Jets do? Do you pivot to Jimmy Garoppolo? What say you?
Man, that is a tough spot. And I'll tell you right now, depending on what Rodgers does, I mean, all these draft picks are going to get jacked up because people are, to me, going to be making trades all over the place. But if I'm the Jets, I do not wait and personally go after Derek Carr. I don't think that will end up what they'll do. I think they'll try to wait it on Rodgers whenever he gets out of this retreat. But I don't think you make a hesitation here. The Jets are a quarterback away from being a very legitimate team that can make the postseason. They're not in the hardest division. If you put Derek Carr on that team and you can limit his turnovers and get the running game going, they have a really good defense led by Coach Saleh. I just don't see the point in waiting it out. Would Rodgers be the better option for the next 2 years? Of course, you'd be a little bit closer. But Carr is younger. You don't have to trade for him now. And it's not like he's coming off a terrible year. He's still a pretty good quarterback.
Especially because Saleh's on the hot seat. If he comes out and has a terrible year, he's done. So I'm with you. If I'm the Jets, I'm going after Derek Carr and I'm going full bore. I'm not waiting on Aaron Rodgers. You can't. You absolutely cannot wait on him because I kind of feel like that he's going to come out of that retreat anyways and decide that A, he's coming to Green Bay, B, he's going to Vegas, or C, he's retiring. The more and more that I see it, I'm having a hard time believe that he's going to pick New York. He's not a guy that's going to do well in New York. I think that he's going to have a big time issue dealing with the press in New York. And though he does have the ability to be the best quarterback in the league next year, that doesn't mean that he's going to want to put himself in a situation. A California kid who's been in Wisconsin for the last 20 years, and he's all of a sudden just going to get thrown into the Big Apple. I have a hard time seeing it.
Yeah, and listen, Vegas makes the most sense. Like you said, he would go from the cold to a dome, the Devontae Adams factor. The Vegas Raiders, led by Mr. Josh McDaniels, he doesn't have forever either. If they bottom out this year, Mr. Davis is going to put him on the hot seat not fire him. So the Raiders got to make an aggressive move. And to me, if I'm them, you can't get Carr back, obviously. He's the second best QB on the market. No doubt going for Mr. Aaron Rodgers. And to me, their backup plan would have to be Jimmy G.
And I don't like that one at all. But there's a fourth guy that people are starting to rumor around up there in New York, and it's Baker Mayfield. I'm sorry. I would rather. I know there's a lot of Jets fans who are afraid of Jimmy G because they're afraid the fact that he's always injured. But Baker Mayfield, you're going to put your career eggs in that basket? Ooh, doggy.
Yeah, and if I'm Baker Mayfield, go to a team, where you could start, but there's really no expectation. I think for both sides, it wouldn't be the best thing in the world.
Yeah, but he's at that situation in his career where he cannot. Beggars can't be choosers, right? And if he has an opportunity to go to the Jets with the talent that they have on that roster, man, oh man alive, can you imagine? All I see is an implosion. What I see him happening is some kind of big beef in the locker room between the guys that were going, screw this, we've been better off keeping Zach Wilson, and the ones going, no, let's go, man, come on, Baker Mayfield, let's go. I know a lot of people were thrilled with what he did for the Rams in that short period of time. I did not think it was as incredible as folks thought it was.
No, I remember watching their games. It's not like they were in shootouts for the most part. Against Seattle, they had like a 17-16 game in week 18. I remember he wasn't turning it over, but he wasn't lighting it up.
No, he had the one big game, or actually the one big quarter against the Raiders in that Thursday night game when he first started 2 days before, and everyone's hanging their hat on that. But that was a fluke. And the Raiders were
their defense was trash.
Yeah, they were absolutely awful. So you can't really no. Now I've got a scenario for you, a big trade that I could see coming and fixing 3 teams.
Oh,
one fell swoop. Are you ready for this one?
Hit me. Let's go.
Because I'm looking at the draft picks that are available right now. This gives 3 teams a brand new quarterback for 2023. And I think all 3 quarterbacks fit what you would want to do.
Does this involve Ryan Tannehill? Okay, let's see.
The Baltimore Ravens are sitting there with the number 22 pick overall.
Okay.
The Atlanta Falcons are sitting there with the number 8 pick overall. So in a 3-team trade, the Baltimore Ravens send Lamar Jackson to the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons and Baltimore Ravens send their 2 number 1 picks to Chicago, Illinois, and Justin Fields becomes a Baltimore Raven.
Whoa.
And that fixes everything because the Falcons get what they need, and the Ravens don't really have to change their philosophy because they're basically getting a younger version of Lamar Jackson. Let's go. Let's get it done.
No, in all honesty, if just looking at that from the tea leaves up, I think you might get some Bears fans who are big Justin Fields fans to be disappointed, but it makes sense for all 3 teams. As you said, if you're the Bears,
the Bears draft whoever the heck they want, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you get picks 8 and 22 in Chicago, pretty happy. You probably even get a couple other things in there. And then if you're obviously the Falcons, man, under Arthur Smith last year, they tried the knockoff versions of Lamar. They had Mariota and Ritter. That ain't going to work. You put Lamar with Arthur Smith, you're going to be winning that division.
And in that move, I could see some other draft picks heading towards Baltimore, lower.
Yes.
But that was just the outer edges. But that is the trade that I like the most in the offseason.
Could I tell you one wild one I had for Mr. Lamar Jackson?
What's that?
I was going to say, and I know this is wild, but hey, they always seem to be kind of wild. Lamar Jackson to San Francisco for Trey Lance in their first-round pick. And that you kind of take care of the Baltimore need with a similar Trey Lance. And then San Fran is just – they got Lamar Jackson. They hook him up. He gets a 5-year mega deal, and San Fran finally gets the quarterback to take him over the top.
Now, does San Fran have a pick? I don't see.
I should have. If not this year, then okay, just give them a first-round pick maybe next year. Maybe they don't have a first.
I don't see it.
Oh, that would be a little bit of an issue, but you could maybe throw in some other players.
A major issue. What are we talking?
If you give them Trey Lance and if you give them like Trey Lance and next year's first-round pick and a player or something, you could find a way around it, but that would make it difficult.
It looks like the San Francisco pick is to New Orleans, and that has come via about 17 different trades that ended up that the Denver eventually got that was originally San Fran's, and Denver
I see. What a mess.
Back to the Saints.
Well, there goes most of that theory, but it was worth a try.
There's only 31 picks in the first round this year. I can't remember who it was, but I saw it the other day. Somebody's having to forfeit their first round pick.
I forget who that. I don't know if it was one of the Saints picks or maybe Cleveland, but either way, I mean, Lamar Jackson, they said, I saw that report today where they said he wasn't even involved much in their offensive game plan and picking out an OC for next year. So to me, the writing's on the wall. He is fully going to be out of there, and it's going to be very interesting to see where he lands.
I don't think I realized that the NFL draft is going to be in Kansas City this year.
I'm trying to go to it, actually.
I did not know that. Well, don't they just have everything?
Yeah, what a fun year for them.
I believe it was the Rams that had to forfeit their pick, because I don't see them either. It says here the Rams, Saints, Browns, 49ers will not have a first-round selection. The Denver Broncos, but then they ended up getting that pick via the trade. So I think this is an edited article. But anyways, that's the trade that I have. I have Lamar Jackson.
I like it.
Because I'm trying to get Lamar Jackson to Atlanta. Give me Lamar Jackson to Atlanta. Send Justin Fields to Baltimore. And the fix is the Bears, because the Bears can pick whatever quarterback they fancy. And I'm thinking more and more like I would take Stroud over Bryce Young. Because the more and more that I've watched some tape on Young, what concerns me is his size and his arm strength. CJ Stroud to me is more of a safer pick.
When he throws that ball deep, watching a lot of Big Ten ball this year, it looks effortlessly. Now, of course, he has to, tune up some things, but between his size and his arm, it's looking great for him.
Yeah, he is a prototypical sized NFL quarterback, and he's got the athleticism. So if I'm the Bears, everyone keeps talking about Bryce Young. Man, Bryce Young's like barely 6 feet tall. And he's looked good in the NFL, but I'm worried about his arm strength, almost a la Tua Tagovailoa.
I hear that comparison so often, it's not even funny.
I know when he's been healthy, Tua has actually been pretty good in the NFL, but there's still that thing that you always see them point out when they're breaking down film, is that Tua is throwing it to spots because he can't just gun the ball, right?
Yeah, and
he's basically picking a spot of the field and throwing it to there and hoping his guy can get there.
And when you look at it, when everyone talks about the classic first pick, Peyton Manning's, your Trevor Lawrence's, your Andrew Luck, these are big body guys who can just sling the ball down the field. You usually don't see that short quarterback being the everything you want number one pick.
All right, let's go ahead and take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to put a pin in this one, and we're going to talk about what are we going to watch this weekend. There's some interesting options. There are also some interesting passes. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD. Keep it locked in here on the Key, baby.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. Hey, Braves fans, the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel are bringing you Braves Baseball all season long. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I'll be bringing you Braves Baseball play-by-play for the Braves fans out there, for all of Braves Country. So pull up an armchair and join us for Braves Country Baseball, first pitch to last pitch, Tuesday and Friday nights, right here on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel.
Someone was actually able to deceive me once. St. Olaf's most famous OBMAG.
What's that?
Obstetrician magician. The amazing Shapiro. He delivered Bridget. But it was so confusing. It's a girl. Now it's a dove. Now it's a glass of milk.
Welcome back. Clearwater Invitational. Number 7, Florida State leads Arizona 3-0. I believe that is the third inning. And Joey, you've got quite the conundrum on what you're going to watch this weekend. And you do have to choose something. You cannot say no. So the options are, now granted, I'm going to be watching a lot of college basketball. But I thought it'd be fun to bat around the fact that the XFL begins. The NBA All-Star Weekend, All-Star Game is this weekend. And the Daytona 500 is on Sunday. And you'll realistically have all three going against each other on Sunday for your viewing pleasure or displeasure, however you look at it. Which is the one? So they all, what is it they say? They go, you got to date, marry, and divorce.
Ooh.
Right? So you date one, you marry one, you got to divorce the other. That's the clean version. We're going to keep it clean. You've probably heard it other ways, but
yes.
we shall keep it clean. So I'm curious, who are you divorcing? I'll go first.
Okay.
Who am I dating and who am I marrying? I think I'm going to marry the Daytona 500. That's the one I'm going to pay the most attention to. Because I watch it every year, even if I don't pay attention to the entire slate. What is it, 36 races, and half of them take place during the NFL season. But I do, look, I grew up in the area. It's a part of growing up around here. You watch the Daytona 500 because that's what you do. I don't really lock into it. I put it on. I'll even have the sound on. And they'll be going around the track. But when they get to the last 4 or 5 laps, that's when I'm really locked in. Probably that's a lie. Last 20 to 30 laps. The first several, you're just waiting for the big wrecks and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm going to date the XFL because I want to see what it is. I'm probably going to tune in a little bit. I doubt they're going to have my attention for long, but I'm going to make an honest effort to tune in. Might even lay a bet just so I have a reason to watch. And then I'm divorcing the NBA All-Star Game. I could care less. It is just absolute. That thing has not meant anything to me since the days of Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins going at it at the Slam Dunk Championship. Larry Bird, the 3-point championship. Nowadays, all of those guys that compete, especially the dunk championship, it's never anyone of note.
I got the 4 names, and it is just...
Oh, there's only 4 in it this year?
KJ Martin, Mac McClung, Trey Murphy Jr., and Jericho Sims. Is it Mac McGee and Joey Areola?
If you gave those 4 names to the average sports fan in America, they wouldn't know what sport you're referring to. They would think maybe. So something's being played this weekend. These 4 guys are in it. What are you watching? I think a lot of people would be guessing, I don't know, XFL?
It's just
college baseball? Do they maybe play for BYU college baseball? I don't know. That is atrocious. I normally don't know who the guys are and have to look them up. That's going to break Google.
Yeah. These guys don't even have Wikipedia pages.
They don't even have Instagram pages. My word, that is just awful. I don't even what teams do they play for?
Well, you got KJ Martin. He's a young guy on the Rockets. Mac McClung. You have the 76ers, but he's played more for the Delaware Bluecoats this year. Trey Murphy Jr. is on the Pelicans, and Jericho Sims has played for the Knicks and the G League Knicks.
What garbage are they doing? Oh, my God.
Oh, and honestly, as I get to my married, divorce, and date, I was going to have an opposite take on things. I was going to say I'm married to the NBA All-Star Weekend because of the past and history of watching it with my dad, but it'd be kind of that, wife that you've been sick of for 30 years. But now I'm divorcing the NBA All-Star Weekend because when I see these names, you at least get a couple. At least back in the day, you got Nate Robinson and Blake Griffin, and that was so fun. Dwight Howard's. Now you don't even get that amount of talent. We get these G League and Delaware Bluecoat. Come on, what is going on here? So,
is there even any marquee guys going to be in the 3-point championship?
The 3-point contest is good. You got Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Kevin Huerter, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Julius Randle, and Lauri Markkanen. So at least in the 3-point, you got names.
So how is it that they're getting some marquee names in the 3-point, but none? Is it because they're too afraid that if you lose a slam dunk championship, it hurts your brand somehow?
And I'm thinking injury factor, because let's face it, they put up 1 million shots a day and never take a beating. God forbid one of these all-stars who are in a playoff race do a dunk and get all torn up. I know it's a bad mentality to have, but let's face it, it's the NBA. When they fight, it looks like a third-grade classroom. So they just keep getting
That is just atrocious. I'm assuming that the NBA All-Star game itself is being played Sunday evening like it normally is.
It is, and it's Team Giannis versus Team LeBron for year 3 in a row, whatever that
is. And that right there is why I don't get into it either. Because this fake thing that they put together where they're trying to get you to care about. First of all, one of the more polarizing figures in all of sports, they put Team LeBron. Really? So many people hate LeBron. What the heck are we talking about? But then the other thing is, like, when I grew up watching it, what little that I did care about it, and I'm telling you, it died around 20-something years ago. I can remember around 20 to 25 years ago watching an NBA All-Star game, and for the first time, I'll never forget, a buddy of mine and I were in college, and we were watching it. We had made this big deal. Oh, we got to go watch the NBA All-Star game. I remember sitting down. It was right around like 2000, maybe 99, 2000. I'm thinking 2000. And we sat there and realized that for the first time, they were not playing defense. They weren't attempting to play defense. They weren't going to play defense. And it was an absolute just disgusting display of what was fake basketball. And shortly after that, the NFL Pro Bowl turned into trash.
And that's so sad because I'm still at the point where I never even remember a competitive NBA All-Star game. So that's
great, man. They great. They used to care. And that might have been the first year without Michael Jordan, so maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe he walked away and there's a lot of not caring who won. But they used to care who won that game.
I'm probably going to get ripped for this, but honestly, to at least make it mean something and have these people try, why not do what the MLB used to do and have whoever wins that game, they get the extra game in the championship? Because at least it brings some interest back.
That's the only way you're ever going to get anyone to do anything with it, but I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No, it won't. Eventually, you're just going to get the slam dunk and 3-point, and they're not even going to play the game anymore like the NFL is doing.
I just flashed on over to the XFL screen on ESPN, and the first picture I see is some team logo. I swear it looks like the Kraken and FAMU helmets had a baby. I don't even know what team this is.
But hey, let's go Roughnecks. I got my mug. Let's go. 8:30 on Saturday. Orlando Guardians are going down.
Why are you a Houston Roughneck fan?
My brother, when it started a couple of years ago before it got dismantled, me and my brother were like, let's pick let's each pick a team and run with it and see if we could, maybe get into this a little bit. And I just happened to pick Houston at the time. So I'm going to stick with them now, as I don't know a whole lot about them as I look at their roster.
It's got to be the Sea Dragons. The Seattle, I'm assuming it's Seattle Sea Dragons. That's got to be the helmet that I just saw. What the heck is a Brahma? Something Brahmas? That's who I do remember St. Louis Battlehawks.
Oh.
You can't even click on this. By the way, when you go to their scoreboard, you can't even click on hit Battlehawks to go to the team page. So that's how much they care.
The San Antonio Brahmas. What is this?
And it's being televised by ESPN, and they don't even care. You go to click on ESPN on the scoreboard. If you go to the scoreboard, if you're on desktop or laptop, and you go to the scoreboard and you see the teams, you can't click on the teams from a scoreboard like you can with any other sport they've ever done. That's how little ESPN cares about this.
Jeez, that's like the WWE tab on ESPN. They just give it no love.
I mean, you can't. What the? And they have a double headers this weekend. Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night.
They got them on good and local networks, so I mean, they.
So is your brother going with the Roughnecks as well, or?
I think he's on. Well, he was on the Tampa Bay Vipers, but then they got taken away, and now they're the Vegas Vipers. So I don't know what the heck he's going to do. Maybe the Orlando Guardians, since they're in Florida. Maybe he goes on them, but they kept like
who
half
are the
these.
Renegades? Are the Renegades not?
They're Arlington.
You can't figure this out. It's ridiculous. You can't even go there. All they have is home schedule, standings.
This is brutal.
Can you go? You can't click on anything on the. All you can do is go to the standings and see their names. So you can't even. There are no team pages. Arlington Renegades. That's who that is. Orlando Guardians. They have a terrible logo. San Antonio Brahmas. Vegas Vipers, Seattle Sea Dragons. Good Lord.
I'm not kidding you. I just looked at the Roughnecks roster. I don't know one player.
How did you even get to a roster?
I just Googled Houston Roughnecks roster, and I'm on a website right now where they list out not even a depth chart. They just give you a bunch of names and what college they came from.
I'm sorry. This is going to be a hard pass for me. I might get into some USFL with a point back. This is going to be a hard pass. I mean, this is oof. I was going to give it the old college shot. You can't even click to look at the roster on ESPN.com.
I don't need a depth chart, but give us some names.
Give me a team site. Give me the ability to click. I don't care if it's the most vanilla thing put together, to click and let me know where are they playing? What stadium are they in? Good Lord have mercy. Well, there you go. That's our XFL breakdown.
I guess, man. Well, Daytona 500 it is after talking about the NBA All-Star Weekend.
By default. Come on, baby. If it ain't rubbing, it ain't racing. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Kind of when you're looking you're looking across the room at the bar and you see a couple of 2s and a 3. Well, I'm going with the 3 today.
I used to get into, and I still always try to get into NASCAR. The problem is they've never adjusted their times of their races to make it where when we hit football season, I can still watch the thing.
Correct.
They've never done that, so I feel like they don't really care if I watch. So why am I starting something that I'll never, ever finish? I watch the Daytona 500 like some people watch the Super Bowl. It's just the one thing, and then I move on.
It's funny because I do that with
the news time. Hey, so-and-so won. Hey, so-and-so did that. And I even have a couple of hats. I know Joey Logano's doing well. That's it, though. I don't care. Because they put the thing on Friday nights when there's nothing going on in the fall. Or Wednesday nights when there's nothing ever going on, anything. But no, we're going to do it on Sunday afternoon. Let's go.
Guess what? Newsflash to the XFL. This is the time of year when the guys get their ladies all happy again because their Sunday schedule is free. They're not going to be sitting down on their Sunday afternoon when they have kids.
When I want to float around in the pool and everything, I'm not going to be revving up the freaking NASCAR. My wife can't sit through it. She'll just go, what the? But I can run her in to putting a baseball game on if we have music playing in the background. But she's, why are we watching racing? Because, woman, I said so.
Well, yeah. Well, folks out there, get your things done this weekend.
We're watching NASCAR because Bally's has gone bankrupt and I can't watch anything else. It's going to be like 2020 all over again. What is your lock and your walk-off?
Oh, my lock is great. It's fantastic. It's gold. It's pure. It's solid. Purdue is -1.5 tonight at Maryland. I think Purdue gets off the schneid. They've lost 2 out of their last 3 basketball games. I know that, and they're on the road. I think that ends tonight. Purdue shows up to show who they really are and takes the cake in this game at -1.5.
Jinxie.
I know. It's totally going to be a
jinx. Man, I took them in a teaser. I knew I should have. I got to start remembering on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wait till Joey bets so I know not to take that.
Hey, take that, right? Thank you, sir. And my walk-off is the Chicago Bulls called me today asking for money already for season tickets, and they usually don't do that until March. Shame on you for calling me with this product you put on the court. I'm saying it right now. If I have to pay a dime before March, this will be the last season of me being a season ticket holder. I've had enough with the Chicago Bulls and what they're trying to pull. So
yeah, baby, go Roughnecks. I agree. Yeah. Real quick, my lock of the day: Wichita State and Middle Tennessee State. We're going to tease them, take them up. You'll get 9.5 on both. We got to run. Sports Map Radio is on the way. First Name Sports, and get your morning started tomorrow. Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on the Key. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Goodbye, sweetheart, well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.